Welcome to Secrets from the Scene, a show for local musicians who want to improve their music, grow their audience, and learn about Minnesota's music scene. If you're interested in talking about all things music related and meeting interesting people from our local community, you're in the right place.
Welcome back to Secrets from the Scene. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We're really happy to have you here. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, the little bell notification, whatever streaming platform you're watching or listening to us on. It really helps us reach new listeners and build the community. So thanks for doing that. My name is Max Greene. Typically, I'm not the host of the podcast. The one and only Stephen Helvig is. But I've been hosting a little bit more lately. Whenever it's a guest that is somebody that I know personally or a guest that I really want on the podcast or somebody that is a drummer or something, I'll usually host that episode. So if you're like, God, get this guy out of here, get Steven back, don't worry. He'll be back for the next episode. But yeah, today our guest is the one and only Matt DeMar. He plays guitar in a Twin Cities-based band called Divide the Fall. Divide the Fall is sick. They're kind of like metal, rock, some pop elements, really catchy, melodic vocals, but then they can get down and dirty when they need to. Really cool production. Definitely worth checking them out. But we're going to talk about the band and some of the really cool things that they've done. They're kind of the definition of nose to the grindstone when it comes to building up their fan base and building up their careers. They've toured all around the country on DIY tours, as well as supporting the band Cold in 2023. They also hit the road with Starset in 2022. They've opened up for a little band called Stained. You may or may not have heard of them. They've also done their own headline tours around the country as well. We're going to dive into Rockfest, which, if you're not familiar, is one of the biggest rock and metal festivals in the country. They just recently played Rockfest, and they played it a couple years ago as well, so we're going to dive into that. So touring with big bands as well as DIY touring, and then Rockfest and lots of other stuff. So without further ado, please welcome my guest, Mr. Matt from Divide the Fall.
Dude,
Welcome,
thanks so much for having me. I'm honestly stoked to be here. This studio is insane too. Love the setup. So
Yeah, thanks for coming out. Yeah, we met. How did we meet each other?
I feel like I probably remember the story better than you do. Maybe a little bit.
I feel like I've always just kind of known you.
Yeah, a little bit. Or we were like maybe in a weird way, like destined to meet. But yeah, no, I both went to Hennepin Tech. I think you were the year after me, so I would always just like see you in the hallway, just kind of like casually walking by.
The weird dude wearing like a t-shirt with a cow on it, or like super short shorts. That was my style back then. It was pretty funky, but yeah.
And then kind of fast forward, I think we officially met maybe at the first Villain of the Story show when you had started filling in for them. I think I just recognized you and went up and, just like introduced myself or whatever. But yeah, and you also know my wife's family too. So it's like a weird, I don't know, like it's like we were destined to meet at some point.
Cross. Yeah, because I remember that was 2024 spring or end of winter of 2023. Right? When we
for
did
the Villain of the Story tour? Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Honestly, they all kind of blend together a little bit. But
so the band that I play with, Villain of the Story, and then Divide the Fall, we did like a weekend run of 3 shows together. And it was just really cool to see, because that was my first experience of like legit traveling and playing shows with a legit band that had a legit fan base and actually ran the band like a business. Before that, I was in a lot of bands. I've been playing in bands since I was like 13, but it was never quite as professional or serious or to that like scale before. So that was kind of my first time doing anything like that. But then like officially meeting you and the rest of the guys in Divide the Fall, I was just like taken aback, like, damn, these guys are seasoned veterans. Like
Seasoned.
The in-ear rig that they have, the way that they get on and off the stage, the way that they act at the venues, the way that like pretty sure your trailer broke on the way to a show in Chicago or something, and then you guys are out there in the parking lot freaking fixing that shit, like giving me a tour of your van and like how you sleep in there and just all that stuff. Is like, these guys they've been doing this and they've done it before and they kind of know what's up. And so it was really cool for me, who was like just getting into that phase in my career, to be playing shows with a band that's like been doing it and knows how to do it. So I just thought it was really interesting to see how the Divide the Fall ship kind of ran.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate that. I will say, like, I think a lot of what we've tried to do with streamlining the rig, and I think maybe it's the case for most bands too, is like you want to be prepared for any type of situation in a live setting. Most of the time when we're out touring, we're just the opening support band. So it's all about how quick can you get off stage, like after your set is done. On a lot of those like bigger tours that we've done, it's like quick changeover, and you have stage managers that are like, up your ass about like,
because they don't care about you at all.
They
want the show to flow, and they want
exactly
the people that are paying them to be satisfied, and they don't care about whoever it is, So
yeah, I think a lot of it came down to efficiency, just kind of like, like we don't use cabs or anything, as most like modern bands I feel like now are maybe moving away from, speaker cabinets on stage. But the whole full in-ear rig, wireless guitar and wireless mic. I don't know, anything you can do to make like, I guess, life a little bit, not that those,
just like anything you can do to kind of like streamline the efficiency.
Anything that you can kind of do to like streamline efficiency, like the in-ears are kind of out of necessity, just because like we play to a click track, and there are like some backing tracks going on that are different elements within the song too. So that's just being able to hear like our own parts, things like that. But yeah, no, I definitely appreciate you like taking note of that. I mean, I definitely don't think we're reinventing the wheel by any means, but it's
No, I just think like for more of the local bands, if you want to say, like, not a lot of people are running in-ears, not a lot of people are running backtracks, not a lot of people have their own rig that they can just wheel up on stage, plug in, and like that streamline efficiency kind of thing, where they can have a high production show at a local level, or then opening up for a huge band or whatever, so I was just like, damn, these guys have a well-greased machine. At what point in your career were you like, okay, I have to step this up a notch, so I'm no longer a local band and I'm considered a professional band? Like, what was the point for you guys? Maybe it was with Divide the Fall or a prior band, where you're like, all right, we have to up the live game. We have to get it backing tracks in. We have to get a rig. We got to get in ears. When did that kind of come into play? And then how was that transition from the way you did it before with floor wedges and amps to then no amps and this kind of intense rig?
Yeah. So we do still use some wedges just for like stage like volume.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like for anybody that's like front row at the show, like all they're gonna hear is drums.
Yeah.
It just sound like drums or whatever you can hear out of front of house. So I've always been big, even though my ears maybe pay the price, but I've always been big on having some stage volume.
Okay.
Especially being capless, it's just kind of one of my preferences. But yeah, I would say like if there's any like specific point, I don't know, like, so kind of taking a step back, for our band, originally I was the bass player.
Okay.
So right now we don't have a bass player. We just, unfortunately, it's easier for us to tour as like a 4-person band. But
yeah.
I've always had a hand in writing a lot of the guitar parts. So I, with the grace of the other guys, like made the transition over to playing guitar live for the band too. And so now, we do have bass in our like live backing tracks. A lot of the bass parts are still recorded by me or recorded by Jake or one of our producers. But yeah, I would say starting out, I had, just a massive like 8x10 bass cabinet. Just thought like, I needed to have the most like the biggest rig,
Yeah.
but
It's
when
got
you're,
so many speakers on it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. But, of course, you get to one venue that's downstairs or, the one that I can think of kind of off the top of my head is the Warehouse in La Crosse, Wisconsin. It's kind of like a historic venue. I think it's closed now, unfortunately. But it's like a historic building, and the actual live room or the main where they have shows is like on the third floor, and there's
damn,
no
so you gotta
elevator.
haul that all the way
Haul
up
it
there.
up 3 flights of stairs. And I mean, yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, like a bass cab's like basically a refrigerator. It's like, I think at the time too, like the casters were busted too, so the thing didn't even like roll. I had to like move it on like a dolly or something. But
Staple some backpack straps to it.
yeah. But yeah, so I guess when making the transition to guitar, I've been playing guitar in the band since about 2022 now. That was kind of when we made the switch to do like the full in-ear rig, to then have, like our live setup a bit more, I would say, condensed, but also upgrade a lot of things where it's, you know, more efficient, like wireless and all of that. So, but, yeah, Jake, our other guitar player, is kind of the mastermind behind that. He's kind of the tech guru
Okay.
of the band, thankfully. But yeah.
Sick. Yeah. I feel like backing tracks can get a bad rep. It's all kind of genre specific, but I mean, my band, Villain of the Story, we play with backing tracks, and it's just more for like, those crazy like bass drops or those cool like synth effects that you don't have a synth player live or whatever. But I think it does add a lot to the overall stage production too. Like when bands can have a seamless transition from one song to the next, and there's a cool interlude or a cool pad thing that leads into the next track or whatever. I think it just kind of helps. And I've noticed more and more local bands like doing that and elevating their live rigs and elevating their getting in-ears and doing that kind of stuff. But there's always been like a stigma to it too as well. But
I definitely think there is, like, especially in rock music, like if you're a raw rock band or like a band that doesn't need that, doesn't need tracks, doesn't need to play to a click or whatever. There are definitely bands that do it, like, and it works for them. And, I definitely have a lot of admiration for bands that do that. I just think for like the style of music that like both of our bands are in, it just, kind of is a necessity to, I mean, for one, a drummer's got to play to a click if you're going to have any backing tracks. It just can't, like,
otherwise it's a train wreck.
yeah. But I would say too, like, it is kind of, I would say, having our bass parts in the tracks now live, it is kind of a bummer. Like for me personally, I would really like to add a bass player at some point in the future. It's just kind of easier to tour with the four of us. I mean, especially with our, living conditions on the road, kind of being already close quarters. But not only that, but like the four of us have, a good working relationship. We're all like good friends too. And that's can be kind of like we've had people fill in before I switched to guitar. We had people fill in on guitar. And, it just tends to, if it's not the right fit, it can kind of burn bridges a little bit.
Yeah.
And, didn't really want to be that band either. I would probably just rather wait until we're at a point where, like, we can afford to like take somebody out, and it's not, also kind of vet the person to make sure it's the right fit, type of thing. But
for sure. Yeah. So I think maybe we dive into, at what point did you guys then feel like you were ready to start touring? I think and we've kind of talked about this a little bit on this podcast before, but like, I feel like every band wants to hit the road, get in the van, let's tour. But if it's not the right time and if it's not the right circumstances, it can really cause a lot of strain on you financially. You got to take off time from work. You got to balance schedules. And if you're driving around the country playing for 2 people and a bartender, the morale in the band can drop. If you're losing money, the morale in the band can drop, and it can kind of cause burnout and kind of wear you down if it's not the right time to jump to that next level of touring. And eventually you do just kind of have to take the leap and do it. But at what point did you guys feel like, all right, we're ready to hit the road? And then what was kind of your approach with doing that?
Yeah. So I think starting out, like we, played a lot regionally in the Midwest. Like I don't recommend this, but starting out, we would jump on any and every local show that there was, just at the beginning, we, for one, wanted to be kind of accepted into the local music scene. So it's like if there were any like kind of bigger like local band that were willing to put us on their show, and that was a chance for us to get more of their following to like us, then we would take that opportunity. But then started spacing it out more because obviously oversaturation is a big thing. You can't play your hometown market that consistently because once you start trying to do your own shows, then it, makes for less of a draw at each of those shows. So, but I would say so we started off just kind of locally, like Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities area. We would, hit towns like Mankato or St. Cloud, just like other like college towns like in the state, kind of branching into like other, states like Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, or Eau Claire, Wisconsin is kind of another like area that we do pretty well in, just because it is kind of like our home away from home now. We've played there so many times, and it's just, we would get put on shows opening for, dare I say it, Trapped, or, like kind of that general demographic, like butt rock style band. And then that handful of people would come back and see us when we do our own show there, so there's a little bit of that. There's definitely a little bit of like trial and error with, seeing what markets work and, where the following is, which ones are worth giving up. There's definitely been a few of those, but then also just kind of working our way into becoming, like a support band, just maybe like an opening, like one of 4 on some of those like, national tours. I think the first official tour we ever did was like, other than like a weekend run, was in 2019. We went out with a band they were called Violet 9. They're called Take the Name now. They had to change their name because of some legal thing.
Of course, yeah.
So they changed the name to Take the Name as like
clever.
But yeah, those are our PA homies, and we went out with them for, I think it was like 2 weeks. We did like, some Midwest, East Coast. I don't think we really played to many people at all. We just kind of were internet homies, and we're like, yeah, let's, try to each take our bands out and see what we can do on like this couple of week run. And then fast forward through, COVID happening in 2020, no touring really for like that year and a half, 2 years. We had gotten the opportunity to go out with Cold in 2021. So it was just like, one leg of the tour. And that kind of, helped with them having a little bit more of like a built-in fan base or built-in following.
So they're a huge band.
Yeah. I mean, they've been around for a minute,
Yeah.
So that just kind of helped then, like, hey, we went out with this larger national band, and then we would use that as like ammunition to, submit to other tours to get on for support.
Yeah, kind of like a resume builder, kind of proof that you're able to do it, and we played with these guys, so we can play with you. How did the Cold tour kind of come up, or how does someone get on to something like that? You just cold email them and say, hey, done X, Y, and Z before. If you ever have an opportunity, we'd love to hop on, or do they reach out to you, or how does something like that present itself?
Yeah, so at the time we had an agent that we were working with. I wouldn't really call him like a manager per se, but they were kind of like a liaison to get tour offers that were kind of primarily like buy-on tours.
Okay.
Which is probably a good thing for us to talk about. Like, we definitely, I would say, like, there is a negative stigma around like buying onto tours.
And so we can explain that for people that don't know what a buy-on is. Basically, you pay to play on a tour, and you kind of pay for your spot to be on a tour, basically, right?
Yeah, essentially. So I mean, it kind of breaks down to like, unfortunately, it can be, I don't want to say like specific numbers, but it breaks down, to be like, a couple $100 a show, or depending on the tour, it could end up being a lot more, but a couple $100 a show to like a couple $1,000 a show, depending on how big the tour is. But
so that's what you would pay to play that show?
I mean, essentially we would have our agent work with, like facilitating the tour with the other band's agent. And essentially like we would have an agent that would kind of help facilitate those tours with the national touring band or the bigger band's team. And we would pay them, to basically take us out on the tour, which isn't ideal. And I, understand that a lot of bands aren't really in the position to be able to do that. Thankfully for us, like, we're all kind of in positions within our own lives where we either had some money in savings, or, the band had toured and saved up enough money to be able to put some of that money into those buy-on budgets or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely kind of a means to an end thing for us. Like, it was like, okay, like, let's see if we can get on a handful of these like buy-on tours to where we're playing in front of bigger crowds, and it's just kind of a built-in audience to then, if our band is good, those people are most likely going to like us. And then, that would translate then into, us being able to do our own headline shows where, then in markets where we haven't played before, maybe we can draw a handful of people or something. But yeah, I would say we kind of learned our lesson with that. Like, we never really lost money on doing buy-ons, thankfully, but it's, like in some cases, like, we actually did really well, but at the same time, it's also not really the move, like, there's definitely a much more organic way to build a following, especially in today's day and age, like, where you have so much, at your fingertips with, social media or ad marketing or, that sort of thing. And that's kind of what we're doing at the moment, is we're kind of in like a rebuild phase where it's like, we have a handful of people that would love to see us play in all these different markets. Like, we have a booking agent now that we're working with to help try to like put together tours, or getting on, tours with bands that we're friends with that, we could kind of partner up with other bands where we might have a little bit of a following, or we can partner up with other bands that we're friends with that, we can do shows in areas where we might have a little bit of a following. But yeah, moved away from the buy-on thing. I would say there's, just kind of not really, you kind of get known as a buy-on band too. Like, when agents see the name, then they might think, oh, like, this band like pays to be on stuff. And it's like, that's not really the look that you want. If you want to be like taken seriously, then you definitely want to go about it, even if it's maybe a longer road to success, like, or much more difficult road to success. Like, it's definitely like better ways to go about that for sure.
Yeah. So I guess, to recap here. So you guys were doing more local shows, then you slowly went to out of the Twin Cities to more college markets and some further away cities, and then more Midwest regional kind of stuff. And then you decided to take the leap. All right, we want to go to the next step, but we don't really know how to get there. Let's try this buy-on thing and see how it works. There's pros and cons to it. It can be expensive. You have to have the realization that we might lose money on this, or we might, we have to make our money back somehow. It's like, but on the other hand, we could play in front of some huge bands or play in front of some huge audiences with some huge bands, potentially win their fans over. And then in the future, when we do our own headline tours, some of those people will come out and see us. So pros and cons. So you did that for a while. And then once those tours were kind of done, then were you at a point where you're like, okay, let's try our own headline tours, or where were you at after that?
Yeah. So I think like the last like buy-on tour that we did was with Cold again in 2023. Like thankfully, like we're friends with them too, so it was not really much of a buy-on. Like
Yeah.
we had kind of developed a relationship with them where we were able to develop a relationship with them where like, like I still talk to their singer pretty regularly even now, but it was pretty much like, hey, like we'll allow you guys to come out on the tour, but we still don't, like, Divide the Fall still doesn't have enough of a following in these markets in California that you've never played before.
Okay.
To merit us having you on the full tour. So it was like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. And we had kind of known at that point, like, even though it was a gamble, that we could kind of make the money back just by like, whether it be like merch sales or what have you. And then after that, it was kind of like, I think we've kind of outgrown this, and we kind of want to move on to like trying to do like our own thing. And so we have done a handful of, like, we did a 2-week headliner in like last year, where we did like Midwest and East Coast dates. I think we started in like Michigan and went into Canada and then down to like Florida and back or something. And that in itself was a crazy learning experience. Like out of maybe like 20 shows, there were maybe just like a handful that drew really well, where it's like, okay, yeah, like now we know which markets out of these 20 to really like focus on, which is cool. It's also good to know. It can also be tough to like, hey man, we drew like 80 people in Orlando, Florida. How do we get back there now without any, like, with the least amount of connecting shows? That's kind of where I'm at right now, is like, how can I book us a tour and hit those markets that made the most sense, but they're all kind of like spread out too. So I don't know. Some of that does come down to like just, ad marketing, focusing like, targeted areas, trying to build following in some of those. A lot of it does come down to like investment. Like we don't have it figured out by any means. Like we're, still I would say like we are a nationally touring band, but we're not making a living off of this or anything. We all work like regular day jobs and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, just trying to do more headline tours, trying to do like even like smaller support tours, might have a couple now where like we are working with like a label, like a smaller label, where our head of that label has some connections to maybe like get us on different tours supporting other bands. But I think one of the biggest things too that can be a little bit difficult is that a lot of our tour support, or a lot of our tour history, is as a support band. So with booking agents, it's like, okay, well, what can you guys draw yourselves?
Oh.
And it's like, well, I could tell you how many t-shirts we sold at like, at this show, but yeah, we were on tour with this band. So all the ticket sales were that band's numbers. I can't really tell you like, what our band is going to bring to the show. But then again, we have kind of proven ourselves to an extent as well, where like we can have some of those shows in markets that are super far away, and it's kind of a good turnout,
Yeah, it's kind of like you have to do your own shows, but then take the risk of this one might not do so well. We might not get such a great turnout, but then also trying to grow and build new fans by being a support band. But then that can, like you were saying, can look bad to promoters. Well, you guys are just a support band. But it's like, if you're not a support band ever, then you're not going to get in front of new faces. It's just
kind of a weird catch-22 in a way. Yeah.
5 steps forward, 10 steps back, 20 steps forward, 2 steps back, just kind of a slow grind. But I feel like you guys have, because you've done so many support gigs and you've done so many local gigs and you've done so many of your own shows, I feel like that in a way has helped you just get your name out there, even like with industry people or other promoters or whatever, like kind of like what we were talking about before we started filming on. You guys opened up for Stained, which is a huge band. How did that happen? Like how do you open up for a band like Stained?
Yeah, trying to remember. So a lot of it can, I think an important thing is like connections that you make along the way. Like, you know, people that you've either befriended or, you know, funny enough, the guy that is the talent buyer at that casino that we opened for Stained, like I thought that guy hated us.
Oh, really?
You know, but like there was a point where he was kind of like taking us under his wing and like, you know, managing us. But
Okay.
we kind of saw an opportunity and moved on from it and moved on from, you know, working with that guy. And there was kind of a burnt bridge there for a minute. You know, at that time, he wasn't really, you know, doing the talent buying thing. He wasn't really in that realm yet.
Okay.
But I think enough time had passed too, and like there was always kind of like mutual love there. It was just kind of like, you know, hey, we never meant any ill will. It was just kind of like we had to, you know, do what we needed to, and
Yeah.
I think he understood that maybe eventually too. But yeah, he was, you know, kind of fast forward, he became the talent buyer at the casino, and they were looking for a local support act. And I think the show got booked and it was just Stained. There was no other bands on it. And it was this big outdoor event. He's like, well, dude, we could at least add like one band.
Yeah.
So I'm just thankful that he thought of us to do it. Like it's, you know, like it was a crazy cool opportunity. Like Stained's like one of those bands that like, you know, we all grew up listening to,
It's been a while.
Yeah.
They have so
Like,
many hits. They've been around for a long time. They're still touring arena. Like my wife and I just saw them and Breaking Benjamin at the Target Center, and like, you know, they're still doing the thing, and they've been doing the thing for a long time at a very high level. So yeah,
it's like, it's funny, the singer's dogs like pooped in our green room. Like we had like this outdoor, like it wasn't even really much of a green room. It was like a
tent kind of thing.
tent type of thing, yeah. And I don't know, his personal assistant or whatever was like walking his dogs, and they just maybe smelled pizza or something that we had over there, and they just like came and were like sniffing, and then all of a sudden there was turf grass like on the ground, so they probably just thought, you know, hey, this is where we go potty or whatever. But
that's a sick story though. Like,
yeah, it's like
when you're 75 and you're listening to the radio with your grandkid and it's been a while, it's on the radio, like, you hear that guy singing? That's Aaron Lewis. His dog took a shit in my green room.
Yeah, exactly.
Grandpa, that's sick. Like,
Yeah.
That's a sweet story. What kind of dog did he have?
They were both, I think, Frenchies. I think they were both French bulldogs. Cletus and Clyde are their names, yeah.
Did you get to meet Stained?
I met Aaron Lewis for a second, yeah.
How was
just
that?
Like shook his hand. It was super short. It was just like we'll just say that by the time I met him, the night had gotten away from him type of thing.
A little hammered.
Like, but yeah, I don't know. I just basically was just like, hey, like I'm in the band that opened today. Like it was, you know, sick to get to open for you guys. Like, and it was just like, oh yeah, what's your name? And I was just Matt. And I was funny enough just getting in the van. Like the other guys are already in the van and like ready to go. And everybody's tired. It's like the end of the night. I'm always the last guy in the van too, 'cause I'm always talking to everybody.
You got it though. Like,
Yeah.
It's part of the game.
But yeah, I don't know. So I'm like walking in the van, and funny enough, he's walking his dogs again, just kind of like smoking a cigarette, doing his thing. And then I was just like, oh, hey man. And just like went up and shook his hand. But
That's sick though. So just by playing and grinding it out for a while, you made a connection with somebody who was your semi-booking agent manager for a brief period of time. Just a short connection that you had. Eventually, time passes. That person moves up, gets a job being a talent buyer, remembers you guys, has you then be like, you want to open for Stained, and that's how that opportunity came. So that's dope. And then so now you mentioned you're gonna open up for them again.
Yeah, I'm sure by the time this airs, we'll have already maybe it's still coming up, or it'll definitely be announced.
Okay.
Probably by the time this airs. But yeah, we just so happen another like kind of weird random connection. But our producer in Chicago is friends with the talent buyer at a different casino
Okay.
that they are also playing. And funny enough, like when we were recording this talent buyer, we were using his amp, and
Aaron
so
Lewis?
no, we were using the talent buyer guy's amp. And so he's like, "Oh yeah, Divide the Fall, like that band's sick. Yeah, let me see if Stain's agent wants to put a opener on this show." And we're like, so it got approved. We were actually trying to get 2 shows. It was supposed to be Gary, Indiana, which is the one that we're confirmed for.
Okay.
And then we were trying to get Rockford, Illinois, which was the next day, because we figured like they're both hard rock casinos.
Oh.
The talent buyer guy for the one knew the guy at the other, so he was like, "Hey, can this band open the other show?" But they didn't want an opener for both shows. So, but yeah, I don't know. So we're really excited for that. You know, it's like definitely cool to see your name on big shows like that, and it's usually received really well. I think that's a big part of any amount of success that we've had, is just like, dare I say it, we are a good live band.
Oh
and
yeah.
Like,
Hell yeah. I can attest to that.
I think that we also just are genuine people too. Like we're just dudes, like, I don't know. I think everybody gets a little starstruck like when they like meet their heroes. We've definitely had those moments like on tours where, like we were big on the band Red coming up, myself and Jake, our other guitar player.
Yeah.
And like we toured with those guys on the Starset tour. And
Oh,
we're
wow.
just like, dude, like I don't know, like, reading through the liner notes of your albums to see like who wrote what, and just geeking out on like, dang, I love this guitar part that you wrote. And now I'm like talking with this dude like he's just a colleague or something, But so there have been those moments, but I think it's important to remember like we're all just human beings, especially us, like being a smaller band. I think there can be like a perception that like, because you're playing a big festival or you're playing a big show, that you're larger than life type of thing. And there's a part of us as musicians that maybe feeds on that too. Like we want that, what would you call that? Like mysteriousness of, like we do seem larger than life, but also like we've always just been the most humble and like down to earth dudes that we can be. It's always weird to me, like walking through like, we just played Rockfest last week. I'm walking through like the crowd to go get a tea or something, and some girl's like, "Oh my God, you were in that band!" Like, I'm just like, "Oh hey, nice to meet you." Like in passing, just like super random. Like people are starstruck, but I don't know. It's just like, if I clock in at work at 8 a.m. tomorrow, I'm still a nobody, So
Yeah, but at least for me, it's just like, if it all crumbles and it all fails and ends tomorrow, it's like you can look back in 30, 40 years and be like, you know what? I freaking opened up for Stained. I got to share a stage with Red or Starset, or I played freaking Rockfest, or, might not have been thousands of people waiting to meet me, but this one person was affected enough by my set at this festival that they recognized me. It's like, that's cool. And it's just like, that's badass. And most people that are in bands, they never experience anything even close to that. And they work super hard and they grind and grind and grind, and nothing even like that ever even happens. So I think it's like, it's hard to, and like you try to control the ego or whatever, but at some point too, you have to be like, this is freaking badass, and just kind of like look back and be like, wow, we've accomplished some dope shit, and we've experienced some really cool stuff, and we've played with some really cool people, and like that's something to be really proud of.
Kind of speaking to those experiences too, like I will say like 90% of touring is not the glamorousness that people think it is. Like we're seeing like, yeah, I was just, in X city, but I saw, the truck stops and like the McDonald's or like the Flying J parking lot that we slept in that night. Like, I'm not seeing, the
Yeah.
tourist attractions. There have been, though, there is the occasional time where like we get into a city early or you have an off day. Like, I think one that stands out to me probably still is like the coolest like experience is just like getting to walk around the entire city of San Francisco.
Okay.
Like never having even been to the West Coast myself. Like, and then we played like 7 shows in California, and like I don't know, getting to walk from where our venue was like to like our photographer and myself. She's usually like, thankfully, like we usually have somebody else that wants to go like peruse around because the other guys in the band aren't really quite as like adventurous. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like thankfully Jamie, our photographer, she's usually like down to, down for whatever. But yeah, so we walked from like where the venue was to like I forget what it's called, the Full House house. Okay. They have a name for it, but I can't remember. So we walked like, I don't know, probably 5 miles to the other side of San Francisco just because I was like, oh yeah, let's go see this house that's like famous from being in Full House. I'm not even a Full House fan like that. Like,
Still, that's sick.
but it was like, hey, let's go. The Painted Ladies. That's what that like block of houses is called.
Okay.
But then we walked from there like all the way over to this house that was in the Princess Diaries.
Oh.
Yeah, like we walked all the way over to this other houses in like
Anne
the Princess
Hathaway?
Diaries. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Cinema classic.
Yeah, of course. I don't care about that, but sure, let's do it. We're in San Francisco. When are we ever going to be here again? And then we walked down to the Golden Gate Bridge. It's
Okay,
like, of course,
sweet.
like when you're. So I think like I Google Mapped it. We walked like 8.5 miles that day or something.
And then go and play a show.
And there's like hills in San Francisco that like are, like a 50-degree incline or whatever. I'm just like huffing, like I cannot, I'm too out of shape for this, but I don't know. It's like one of those like crazy experiences. Like when would you ever get to do that,
Yeah.
But,
That's how I look at it too, is it's just like whenever I get to travel with the band or tour with the band, it's just like getting to drive through the neighborhoods and the nowhere spots of the state that you would normally just fly over and never see. I just always find it fascinating to see those places and like, get to explore the little restaurants around the venue or whatever. But yeah, you normally don't have a ton of time to just explore or check stuff out, or people be like, oh, you're going to be in that city? You got to go to this restaurant. It's like, we're not going to have time. We're going to get there 3 hours, 4 hours before the show, and we got to scream load in and do that super fast. Then we get a sound check, and then next thing you know, doors are open and the other bands are playing and it's showtime, and then you got to tear down and roll out. So
people do not realize what that we're constantly working on the road. Like, that it's, the day-to-day is like exactly that. Like you get to the venue, you gotta, get all your gear in to be able to sound check. And then once you're done sound checking, you maybe get some downtime like while the other bands are checking, but then you're usually setting up merch or, especially if like you're, smaller bands like our band.
You're doing it all yourself.
We're not bringing like like for festivals or something, we might bring like a guy out to help
merch and stuff.
Merch or to help like move gear off of like for Rockfest, we had a buddy of ours come out and drum tech. So he helped set up everything. And then the second that we were done playing, Ethan goes to the merch table. Our singer goes to the merch table, and then like that way at least we have one other guy that's helping pack stuff up to get it off stage. Most of the time it's just your 4 or 5 guys that are in the band that are doing everything. So
it's a constant race against the clock. And then even when you do have downtime, you're just waiting for your set, so your adrenaline's pumping, so you don't really have time to like take a nap or whatever, or some tech problem goes wrong, or there's something wrong with the van or the trailer or X, Y, and Z, or there's no water here, we got to go get a case of water. Well, so at what point did you guys be like, all right, we're a touring band now, we got to get a van and a trailer? What was that? How did you know what to get? What is that whole rig like?
For sure. So I think our drummer he had a smaller trailer originally. It was when we first like met him. Either like maybe his parents had like a trailer that we were using or something, but it's funny because it's like half the size of the one that we have now. I think we have like a 5x8 enclosed trailer, like a 5 foot by 8 foot enclosed trailer. It's just a single axle still, but yeah, the one that we had was like, I don't know, tiny. You probably could fit like 2 guitar cabs in it and maybe some drums. I don't know. Like it was something
Tiny.
that you look like you would rent at like U-Haul or something, I don't know. But yeah, I think the need for more space just kind of comes with like the amount of gear that we end up taking on the road, and then also having less space in the van for that gear, because we, especially like knowing that we were going to be out on the road and trying to be the most cost efficient as possible, like we built bunks into the back of our van to be able to sleep in there. So a lot of people don't realize that either, like that we're literally like professionally homeless on the road,
Yeah.
It's like sleeping at like truck stops or like a Walmart parking lot or whatever, somewhere where you won't get kicked out of anyway, but or anywhere that you won't get kicked out of anyway. But getting like we take like our like Planet Fitness memberships, like to be able to shower or
Yeah.
whatever. That was definitely like a lifesaver. I think every DIY band or any like smaller touring band has done that. There's even bigger bands that I know that do the Planet Fitness thing, but just make sure that you have the membership in your own name, because I've gotten refused I had my wife's membership card. I didn't have my own, and I got like refused at a couple of Planet Fitnesses. It's like, dude, I just want to shower. I'm not even here to use your,
Yeah.
like, I'm clearly not here to work out, but like, they're just like, this scanned is a different person's name, so you're out of here type of thing. It's like, all right. But as far as the touring setup for the van though, yeah, it's just basically like we took the back 2 bench seats out and built bunks to be able to sleep on. So Jake sleeps on the bottom bunk because he's like 6'5", big boy.
It's a tiny guy.
Yeah. I think he even has to sleep diagonal to fit in there. We could probably insert a picture here.
Yeah.
I'll have to give you a photo so that you can show it here on video. But so he sleeps in there diagonal, and then the 2 skinny guys, Jack and Ethan, they share the top bunk. And then I'm a bench seat bitch because I snore pretty loud. They want me away from them too. There's kind of like a nice barrier wall between us. And then usually we have like one other, bench seat for somebody to sleep on. We've had like, somebody that we bring out that usually will crash there too. But it's tough. Like, it's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. Like, I remember our friend Danny Marshall, she's out like doing photos for and like personal assistant for like Hailstorm and Creed.
Wow.
Now, but her first tour was with us on the Starset tour. She came out with us for like the last 5 days of it or something.
Okay.
And she definitely was not about that van life, but it was like her first kind of taste of tour experience. And then like right after that, she got connected with, I think she went to like a Red show, and the guitar player for Breaking Benjamin, his side project, which is his name is just Keith Wallen. He was opening that tour. They met, and kind of through that relationship, or through that connection, sorry, I should say, through that connection, she ended up getting hired on with Breaking Benjamin to go out on her next tour. So it was like crazy for us to be like, man, we're just like we get them started on the van tour, and then they go to the bus.
Leapfrog,
and,
yeah.
and like now they're too good for us type of thing. But yeah, now she's doing all these like crazy tours, and I'm like, hey, you want to come do photos for us again on the van? She's like, no, but yeah, it's kind of funny to joke about. I feel like I'm doing a bad job because I go on like these far.
No, it's all good.
Crazy.
I'm tracking it all. No, I remember when we did the run of shows together with our bands, I was curious to see like your guys' van setup, and it's exactly like what you described, like 2x4s constructed into these tight bunk beds, and you got like memory foam pads on the floor and sleeping bags and pillows, but all your bags and like some of your gear and backpacks and stuff. So it's not luxury at all. And I remember like, yeah, if anybody has to pee, then this person has to get out and shuffle and shimmy this way so we can get out. And I just was like, hell yeah, that's
Dude,
paying your dues.
Jake is still salty because I think at one point, this is before we installed the bunks. I was sleeping. We still had the 2 back bench seats in the van, and I was always the one who slept in the very back bench seat.
Okay.
And I think the one day I was crawling out to go pee in the middle of the night or something, and I knocked his like coffee pot. He had like a coffee pot that he bought right before that tour, and I knocked it out just opening the back door, and it shattered everywhere. And I still haven't bought him a replacement for that, but let's just hope he doesn't watch this and remember.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But yeah, no, but to the point that you made though, now that we have the bunks in there, so the way that the 2 guys, the 2 guys on top, sleep, their feet are like kind of overhanging me a little bit. So for them to get out, they have to kind of climb over my bench seat to get out. So yeah, it's kind of like a weird, definitely like kind of also, this is a good point, is that, you know, I think any band that's been on tour together for like multiple weeks, you can kind of get on each other's nerves. And that's a whole part of it too, is just like being entirely too close quarters for too long, you know, like to their credit, I snore super loud, so they probably don't get as good a sleep on the road, like just being around me, you know, but then also like we all have our things, you know, like them having to, you know, climb over me to, you know, get out to go to the bathroom or something. But
yeah, it can make or break a lot of bands. And being in a band and then also then traveling and touring with the band is 2 different things. And it's kind of like you're dating 3 or 4 other people but you're not allowed to have sex with them kind of thing. Yeah. You have to make this weird quintuplet relationship work and know everybody's quirks, know everybody's, he snores loud, or he's whatever, he doesn't sleep, or he has to get up and pee 3 times a night, or he chews with his mouth open and it's really annoying at the 7th day in a row in this 5-foot box that we're living in, or he stinks, or, you know, like whatever. Like you learn how to live with each other, you learn how to get through it, and you either push past that and accept that, or he just kind of crumbles you and falls apart. And yeah, like you said, it's not for the faint of heart. It's you're kind of constantly working, you're constantly doing something. Somebody's always awake, and even when you are sleeping, like you're not on a Sleep Number mattress, you're folded over in a tiny little wooden box that's a fire hazard, and you know, like you only get a few hours of sleep and you're tired as hell, and you know, you definitely have to pay your dues and want it. But
not to mention you can't sleep with like the van running the whole night. So like, let's hope it's a cool night.
Yeah, or the windows cracked, or it's not freezing cold, or not cooking hot, and because hotels are expensive, and that can eat a lot of your budget, and especially if you're a mid-tier band or a fresher band that's, you know, you're riding that profit line and you're trying not to go too far into the red and you're trying to break even. Well, then you can't always book a hotel because that eats into your profit line. And if you're on a buy-on tour, you know, like, then you definitely can't afford to pay for a hotel, or, you know, are we going to eat out this meal, or are we going to not? Are we going to? So it's...
I will say like that. So the longer Cold tour that we did, so it was called the Year of the Spider 20-year anniversary tour. That's kind of like
their big album.
For people who know the band Cold, that's like their kind of biggest, most successful album. But the tour that we went on was like 55 shows or something. And that was the first tour where, even though it was a buy-on, like, and thankfully we were making enough money per show back that we were also able to like pay ourselves. I think that's the first time that we were able, not like crazy amounts of money or anything, you know, maybe enough to like, hey, I could send money to like pay a cell phone bill or something, you know, like still using PTO from work, you know, but like, hey, I can, you know, send money to my wife to get groceries for the week or something, type of thing. Not a livable wage or anything, that's for sure. But feel like I had more of a point there, but
yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, and it's an experience for sure. Yeah, so we've gone over kind of the beginning stages and building up to more of getting your own van, doing the tours, doing the buy-on tours, then doing some of your own headlining tours, moving past that. By grinding it out for a while, you built up cool connections. You've gotten more opportunities to open up for some bigger bands like Stained and that kind of thing. And then you guys have played at some really cool festivals like Rockfest, which you did about a week ago or this past weekend.
yeah.
Walk us through Rockfest. How did that go? What was that like? I saw some pictures, and you guys played in front of like at least 1,000 people, if not more,
I
multiple
feel
thousand
like,
people.
I feel like for what fits under that like tent, like side stage that we played, it was probably around 1,000. But yeah, it was cool, man. It was, like, it's always a good time. I was a little bit nervous because like the last time we had played it, it was a Saturday, and this time it was a Thursday, which was opening day for the festival. And we got like a 1:45 p.m. time slot or something.
Okay.
So I was like, man, hopefully there's enough people that show up and we're not just like, yeah, we're on a big festival, but if we're playing to nobody, it's still, a
Yeah.
bummer. But then I saw like the guy that we get on it through, like, posted a photo of the pre-party the night before, and I think Drowning Pool was the headliner or something.
And that's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
band, which is
Yeah.
a huge band.
Yeah, they're still killing it. But yeah, like there was just like a sea of people when they like played the night before, and I was like, okay, so should at least be like a fair amount of people when we play. But yeah, it was a good turnout. Crowd's always like super into it. I'm like, it's kind of a cool, I don't want to say like homecoming, but it's almost like we do kind of have a good following in that like Eau Claire, Wisconsin area where the festival happens. And it's also close enough to the Minneapolis, like St. Paul, Twin Cities area that like enough people from our hometown market go to it. So even though they may not come out to like the regular shows that we play, granted we haven't played around here in a while. I played the Twin Cities in a while. Like they always get stoked to see us at the festival. It's like they're getting to see all their other favorite bands, and like we're just kind of a bonus type of thing, which I guess is like the best thing that you could ask for. But yeah, no, it was a great time. There's probably a few hiccups that we had. Like I think there was like one song where like the track like started and stopped, and we were like 10 seconds into it or something, like rolled the intro and then had started playing, and then it like the session stopped or something.
On the
And it
playback.
was like the cardinal rule is you never stop and restart a song, but
Yeah.
like also we're not far enough in that we've really like started.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We just kind of like re-rolled from the beginning, and
Yeah.
that was kind of a bummer.
But I guarantee you a lot of people probably didn't even notice.
Luckily, it was a new unreleased song, so people, were just probably like vibing and not really even like super worried about it. But of course, when you're on stage and you know how things are supposed to go, and something doesn't go wrong, it's like all you can think about is like, oh crap, that just happened, But yeah, I don't know. You just kind of take it for what it is and move on from it. But
Do you notice with those types of gigs, like those big festival gigs or some of the opening direct support gigs for the bigger bands, do you notice after playing those shows, like your numbers go up or your streaming, or do people like, we definitely gained some fans from this? Or is there a tangible number or something that you're able to see after that and be like, okay, we grew a little bit from this thing, or this was worth it? What are those kind of things
there's
like?
definitely a spike in like streams for sure. Like anybody who like watches like their Spotify for artists or whatever, you can kind of notice like a bump in like who's listening or like your
What area?
what area, like, but also like, it always kind of seems like right after we play a big show that I do pretty much all the social media stuff for the band too. So the amount of like followers that we get is always like pretty insane too. Like, 20 to 50 people just like pulled us up on their phone to like us
Right after the
mid-show.
yeah.
So that's cool too. And like people share like us to their stories or whatever. We always try to like repost it because I think that means a lot too. I think that people really enjoy that the band that they are discovering is also
Appreciative of them.
appreciative of them and noticing that they are,
Trying to
like,
spread the word about you.
yeah, like, I think if there's any, this kind of comes back to the being personable or being humble, being a genuine dude or being a genuine person. It's just like, obviously it's a two-way street. Like they love our band for what we are, and like we want to show that love back, any way that we can too. So yeah, I just think that's like super important. But I'm always like trying to like communicate a ton, with all of our fans and stuff. But that also can be kind of a burnout thing too. Like
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Responding to the comments and the messages, and they're making sure you see things that people post of you and you interact with that. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, and especially with the way that you guys do it, like, organic, grinding it out, like that's the stuff that you have to do in order to grow. And that's literally what it takes to build a fan base. And at Rockfest, did you get to meet any cool bands that you like, or do you run into any cool people?
So I was kind of side stage for Architects for a minute. That was pretty cool because that band, like, they played the same stage that we did, just later in the night. I think they headlined the Who's on Top stage is what it's called. That's the side stage that we played. But yeah, they headlined that stage, and it was like, I mean, every song that they have put out recently or like on their last like couple of records is just like amazing. It's like probably one of my bigger influences. So yeah, it's very cool to get to see that. And then our drum tech buddy that was out with us too, just so happens to be friends with the guy who was playing drums for Crossfade.
Oh, sick.
So, I mean, Crossfade's like, that song Cold is like one of the biggest songs of,
still on the radio,
one of the
today.
biggest rock songs of the 2000s,
Yeah.
The guy's name is Ryan Bennett, I believe. So he was drumming for Crossfade on that tour, or for these like handful of festivals. And he also drums for Mark Tremonti, who's the guitar player for Creed.
For Creed and Alter Bridge,
Yeah. So his like solo project, he usually is like the touring drummer for that. But
sweet.
Got to meet him and talk with him for a bit. He's like, they're both Vikings fans. Like our friend Chris, that's friends with him, and I'm not. So it's like kind of weird. Yeah.
Wisconsin. Right?
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Funny enough, 3/4 of our band is from Wisconsin. So even though Minneapolis is like our hometown,
yeah,
it's like we can't ever do like Vikings themed merch or anything.
Yeah.
It's like, or we can't do Packers themed merch either because it's like we can't appeal.
Yeah, you'd lose your whole fan base.
Yeah,
leave you.
Yeah, but so they were talking about football and how they think the Vikings season is gonna go, and I'm, like, all right, yeah, cool.
That's sick though.
But that was cool. Other than that, I feel like I met more people the first time that we played it. Like, first time we played it in 2022, I met like some of the guys from Ashes to New, like hanging outside stage. They said they liked our band and everything, which was cool. Cause like we just finished playing, and they're like, dude, we were just walking by and you guys had we had this like breakdown in this song called Fake Love that goes kind of hard. And they're like, dude, we just noticed that breakdown. We're like, holy shit, this band is like really cool. But so yeah, it was probably one of the cooler takeaways from that time that we played it. But
yeah, and I think that's just how bands grow, and kind of maybe how part of your guys' success is like grinding it out, trying to get the fan aspect growth, but then when you have opportunities where you can impress other people in the industry or other bands or other talent buyers or promoters or whatever, that when you're given that opportunity, you freaking rip it, because you never know who's going to watch you, and that could elevate your career even more. Like, we saw you guys playing this festival and that song rip. Why don't you come open for us on our next tour? And and then by doing that, then you get exposed to more people and more audiences, and then you build the more fans. And so it's just like,
I guess like the one big thing that I've learned is that like the more organically that things happen, like the better off and more successful your chances are
of growth.
Yeah, of growth. Just because, like, anytime I've ever tried to like there's definitely like a certain etiquette to the way that you like approach talking to people in other bands, especially if they're a band that's much larger than you, or even from the touring aspect of it, like, touring etiquette as far as, where you set up your merch, like how quickly on and off stage you are, like no
Yeah.
tearing down gear like on stage. Like those are all very important things that organically, if you do them correctly, will just kind of keep you in the good graces of, you know, people surrounded by that band or that band that you're, trying to become connected with or trying to maintain a relationship with or gain a relationship with. But yeah, I think it's important too just to treat people in bands like they're just people. That's usually when it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like for example, that, drummer for Crossfade, we're just shooting the shit about football. We're not like, I'm not like fanboying, like, oh my
Yeah.
God, you just played like some of my favorite songs from when I was in high school or whatever. Like, sure, I might be thinking it, but I'm not like,
Yeah.
like, oh, hey, it's just like cool to meet you, like type of thing. Just like, like you're just a bro, just chatting or whatever. But,
And then, yeah, their perspective of you is, all right, here's another guy that's in the same industry as me, on semi-equal playing field as me. He's a colleague, not a
yeah,
guy who got a cool opportunity to play this festival, and he's just weird and it's awkward.
yeah.
It's
I was
like,
going to say weird is like the biggest thing. Like, if there's anything like people do remember, it's like, oh, I remember for me personally, like, I'm pretty bad with names, but I can pretty much always remember faces, and I can always remember by seeing your face if my interaction with you the first time was weird. And it's like, oh, if I remember that it was a weird first interaction, that I'm kind of like turned off from like, like there are definitely like those times where we've had like, fans that have kind of overstepped or may do like something that's off-putting or something, and it's like, you just kind of do your best to navigate it type of thing. But then like when you come back to that city and then that person's coming back, you're just like, all right, yep, I immediately recognize you from the last time, type of thing. Same goes with people in the industry too. Like they, remember immediately like, oh yeah, that person the last time I dealt with them, just such a weirdo, like weird vibes, like avoid at all costs
yeah,
type of thing, So just be a chill guy, that's the
pretty much. Yeah, that's what it kind of comes down to. People remember things, and first impressions really matter. And
I'm not gonna lie, the first time that we met, I thought I was like, oh, I'm bringing up all this stuff from like the past that Max doesn't even remember. And I'm like, he's probably just like, dude, you're weird. I was just like, I should probably just stop. I should have just acted like, hey, like, nice to meet you. I've never seen you before in my life.
no, I just remember like, oh, I've always just kind of known that guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so sweet. So yeah, we've covered quite a lot, just building up to the point of when you take the leap to start touring, some mistakes that you make when you first start touring, getting to play bigger supporting shows, when's the right time to buy a van, lifestyle and stuff of doing the van touring and how that works, getting to play some cooler, dope festivals. Is there any kind of fun stories or any funny stories or crazy things that have happened out on the road, or any just kind of memorable moments that you think people might get a kick out of?
So memorable moments. So on the Cold Tour in 2023, we did have to miss a couple shows because Jake was in the hospital for probably like a better part of a week.
Wow.
So that is also kind of another point too, is like touring can kind of have a bit of a,
Take a
strain
toll.
on like a toll on your, like your health too. But yeah, he was like in the hospital for probably like 5 days or something like that, which is such a bummer because it landed on like the tour had like probably 3 off days.
Oh,
We had booked like an Airbnb to just like chill and we were just gonna like hang out in Salt Lake City. And the whole time he was like held up at the hospital, and we were of course like at the Airbnb, like, chilling, like,
getting some rest. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a bummer for him, but yeah, that's happened. Unfortunately, like, it that happens. It's just one of those things like,
It's part of it. Yeah.
yeah. But as far as funny stories, man, we're all so goofy. Like, I don't know, there's so many that have happened probably over the years. Like, I don't know. What was the other one that you mentioned?
Or just like memorable moments or cool
Yeah.
experiences that you won't forget, or stuff that you'll look back on like, that was sick.
Yeah. I think like probably one of the coolest moments of touring was like when we played in Montreal with Starset, because like we'd for one never played in Canada before. It was like our first time doing that, and it's our first time crossing an international border, which we were all kind of like sketched out about, just because like when you're a van and trailer, you're kind of like a target,
yeah.
you know. They also want to know if you're declaring anything like when you come into the country. So like, are you bringing goods or anything to sell? Or hey, you're in a band. Okay, well, are you making money playing the show that you're, you know, because they immediately like that's something that they can collect duties on if you're getting
Okay.
any sort of like income or anything. But yeah, so the time with Starset too, like they had like a caravan of probably 3 buses, I want to say,
Oh, wow.
and we crossed the border before them, but the security or the border patrol somehow thought that we were in charge of them. And so they were asking us for all of their like passes, and it was like the weirdest thing. We were like,
Yeah.
nah, dude, you got to go talk with their tour manager. But the dude's kind of like doesn't speak much English because you're in Quebec, so it's like
The French there?
French speaking. Yeah. So trying to explain to him like, oh yeah, you got to go talk with this guy, and so everything got straightened out and it was great. But yeah, oh, just remember getting into Montreal like super early in the morning. It was probably like 4 or 5 a.m. and we were all just like so stoked to be there. Just kind of walking down to like this little like corner store, and it just kind of feels like you're in a different world, even though it's like, you know, still North America. It's still connected to like the U.S.
It's a
but
different country, though.
but like
Different.
the signs are a different language, you know. I will say playing that show though, it was, you know, like a 2,500 cap room, and it was just packed, and we just had like all these fans coming up to us at the merch table afterwards that were just like spilling admiration for us, but in French. So it's
Oh,
like,
hell yeah.
damn, like we need to learn French before we come back here, you
Just
know?
rip out Google Translate.
Yeah.
Tell me how great I am again. I want to hear it in English.
Not to mention, like, we couldn't take cards for that show because for whatever reason, Square doesn't work with
International.
international for some reason, so we can only take cash. And that was like our first time dealing with like Canadian currency, which is so cool. I mean, like
Yeah.
Canadian money is dope. But yeah, so you have people trying to give us Canadian money and then speaking a different language and telling us like we're great and that they loved seeing us play. Maybe they were telling us that we suck. We just couldn't understand. No, but it was like, I don't know. It was just really cool. Also learned that you can't take a right turn on red in Montreal.
Oh,
Apparently it's like against the law, specifically in Montreal. We got
Okay.
pulled over by a very hot blonde police officer
Hell yeah.
that spoke French. So, but
Yeah.
it's like funny enough, the band that we were on tour with, this was the headlining tour that this happened on, like the last headlining tour that we did. The band that was out with us got stopped and got searched.
Really?
So they had to like empty out their entire trailer. And of course, like they help you because they want to go through everything with you to make sure you're not hiding anything. But once they rip everything apart, they're just like, all right, well, you're free to go. Put everything back out. And they just like had them pack all their stuff back up, put it back in the trailer so that they
Damn.
could leave. No help or anything. So thanks for that. But
Yeah, that's and then because then that delays you a little bit, and then you're, every hour kind of counts when you're
yeah,
on the road. So it's like, oh, thanks.
yeah,
Now we got to repack for an hour and
yeah.
set us behind.
And
a
it was
little
like probably midnight, you know, after we just played a show. So it was like,
bit. You dead, yeah.
yeah, it's like the last thing that you want to do. But yeah, that's probably one of them that like still kind of just like kind of being in a foreign country, like, and just having like all these people like crazy about the band, and it's a bummer because we haven't gotten to play there again since. It's like yeah, I've been trying to get us back to Montreal again, but yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll see like in a future tour or something. But
Hell yeah.
what was there? I feel like there was another question that you had.
Anything you want to plug or promote? Anything new coming up or?
Yeah. So I think by the time this airs, we'll have announced the tour with Villain of the Story. So I think we're hitting like Midwest pretty much for the most part. I think it's all Midwest, right? So it looks like we're hitting Iowa City, Kansas City, if that gets confirmed at at the point this gets released. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Akron, Ohio, which is like Cleveland area, Indianapolis, Indiana, Des Moines, Iowa, and then Minneapolis. So yeah, it's pretty much all Midwest, and then like one East.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
Play some shows with you guys again, and
yeah,
just it's always a blast hitting the road and playing for different people and different scenes and different cities and stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Any new music or anything coming out soon?
So we'll probably have announced we're going to have a new single coming out August 12th, I believe. I think that's the date, and the new single will be called Break Free.
Hell yeah.
So it's a bit more of a radio rocker. Like our last song, Beyond the Surface, that we put out was probably the heaviest thing that we've done yet. So
And it's
this
sick, by the way.
it's definitely a bit more in the octane rock realm, but you know, that's everybody enjoys a good radio rock banger. So,
Hell yeah.
but yeah, I think August 12th. Hopefully, we stick to that date and don't change it. It's gotten pushed back a couple times, but
As it does, yeah. Sweet. Last thing that we do at the end of each episode is, because the show is called Secrets from the Scene, do you have any secret or piece of advice that you could give to musicians out there? Any piece of advice that someone has told you, or anything that you've just learned over your time, anything that you think might help somebody else out there in their career?
something that maybe I've thought about a lot more recently is just remember that we all started as music fans, you know, like to an extent, like sometimes it's easy to become jaded and like, you know, as an artist, or maybe some of that is like, you know, you discovering like your own like self-worth, or, you know, but I think ultimately like it's important to remember that we all just started as like music fans. That's the reason why we started listening. That's the reason why like we fell in love with our first band, and that's the reason why we wanted to do it in the first place, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's like an important thing to remember. Is just like that we all kind of started there.
Yeah, because you can definitely, like, you get a big opportunity opening for a huge band, thousands of people, and then, your ego gets a little inflated, and then the next show you play then is 100 people or 30 people, and you're like, oh, well, we opened up for this band. We're
Yeah.
better than that. And then people can kind of get jaded, like you're saying, or they can get the little ego inflation from things. And that's a good point. Just like at the end of the day, there's ups and downs and forward steps and backward steps. And at the end of the day, the whole reason why you did any of this is just because you wanted to play music, because you're a fan of music and you were inspired to do so. So, yeah. Well, sweet, man. Thanks a ton for doing this. Make sure to check out Divide the Fall. Their new single, Beyond the Surface, rips. Yeah, thanks for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe. It really helps support the show and helps the show grow. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.